With the fantasy football playoffs coming up, week 15, can't make any mistakes. Here are my top 24 wide receiver rankings for week 15. At 24, guy Mecca Buka. It's amazing to start the year. Has been mid-sense. I don't really know what's going on with him. 4 straight games under 10 points. Another bad game from him. You might want to consider benching him next week. At 23, I have Devontae Smith. It's so hard to predict with this guy. 1 week he'll have 20. 1 week he'll have 5 points. You never really know where he's going to go. An easy match against a bad Raiders defense. He should have a big week. At 22, I have Lad McConkey. It's been an up and down year for him. He's not the guy you drafted him at. He thought he was going to be better. This week's at a tough matchup going against the Chiefs, who allow the 7th least points in the league. It's a tough defense to play against. I just don't think he's going to have the best week. At 21 is where I put the rookie wide receiver, Ted McMillan. He's shown many flashes this year. His connection with Bryce Young is only starting to get better. With this bye week, they should be able to game plan for him a little bit better. I think he should have a pretty decent week against the Falcons. At 20, I have the Cardinals wide receiver, Michael Wilson. He's been on a historic stretch while Marvin Harrison's been gone. Marvin Harrison dealing with an injury, dealing with that appendix. I don't know if he's going to play this week. Even if he does, he might be limited, so he should be in store for another historic week. At 19, I have Wan'Dale Robinson, who's playing against the Washington Commanders, who allow the 3rd most passing yards in the league and the 5th most points allowed in the league. He should be in store for a big week. A lot of passing, a lot of points in that game. He should have a nice day. At 18 is where I'd like to rank Terry McLaurin. A couple weeks ago with Marcus Mariota, he had 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. We know the talent that he brings to the table. We know what he can be. He's got an easy matchup this week against the Giants defense. He should have a big week. At 17, I put DK Metcalf. We saw last week the Steelers utilizing him differently than they have all year. I wonder if they're going to keep doing that. If they do, he should have a pretty good week against a bad Miami defense. If they don't, keep making him the outside guy. I don't know how I feel about him. 16 is where I put Chris Olave. Saints always try to get him the ball. 4th in the league in targets. He's a focal point of their offense going against an average Carolina defense. Let's see how he does this week. At 15 is where I put Jameson Williams. Going against the Rams, this Lions-Rams games has one of the highest over-unders we've ever seen. Jameson Williams' connection with Goff is only getting better with some of the Lions' pass catchers going down. I think he's going to boom this week. 14, I put Stephon Diggs going against his former team, the Buffalo Bills. Drake May throwing in the ball, one of the MVP front-runners. I think they're going to make him part of their game plan this week. I think he's going to have a pretty solid week. 13, I'm going to rank Justin Jefferson here. We know the talent he has. He's a top 3 receiver in the league, talent-wise. The quarterback play has been iffy. The offense hasn't been great this year. J.J. McCarthy, though, last week, coming off a 3-touchdown week. Justin Jefferson plays Dallas this week. If he has a bad week this week, I think it's time to panic and bench him. 12 is where I rank Jalen Waddle going against the Steelers defense, who's been surprisingly bad, letting up 244 passing yards a game. I think Waddle should thrive this week. 11 is where I put T. Higgins. Joe Burrow coming back. T. Higgins had 2 touchdowns last week. He's in store for another big week if he plays, coming off that concussion. High over-under, he's going to find the end zone at least once. 10 is where I put A.J. Brown. 22 points over the last 4 weeks and double-digit targets over those weeks as well. He should be in store for another big game against a bad Raiders defense. 9 is where I put George Pickens. He's been amazing ever since coming to Dallas, averaging 103 yards over his last 4 games. Gets a tough Minnesota defense, but in a must-win, I think they're going to get this guy the ball. 8 is where I put Nico Collins. He's finally turning into the guy we drafted, averaging 18.5 points over his last 5 weeks. This Arizona defense just got torn up by Matthew Stafford and the Rams. I think C.J. Stroud could do the same thing. 7, I have Devontae Adams. 12 touchdowns over the last 7 weeks is absurd. If you only count those last 7 weeks, he'd still be the 1st in the league in touchdowns. He's going to find the end zone at least once, maybe even twice against the Lions this week. 6 is where I put CeeDee Lamb. Coming off the concussion, let's hope he plays. He has one of the best connections with Dak Prescott in all the league, going against the Vikings defense, who's really bad against slot receivers. CeeDee Lamb plays mostly in the slot. I think he'd gash this Vikings defense. 5 is where I put Rashee Rice. We saw last week wasn't his best week, but many opportunities against a really tough Texans defense. I think they're going to make sure he gets the ball against the Chargers this week, as this is a must-win week if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. 4 is where I put Amon-Ra St. Brown. Highest over-under over the week, 54.5. We know he's going to get the ball. He's one of the best receivers in the league. I expect another good week. 3 is where I put Puka Nacua going against the Lions. This game's going to be a shootout. A lot of players going to score a lot of points. I expect him to have a huge game. 2, I'm going to put Jackson Smith and Jigba. Only gone under double-digit fantasy points once this entire year. He's the best wide receiver in the league. I don't see why anything's going to stop him this week. And then my number one player this week is Jamar Chase going against the Ravens. He averages 38 points a week against the Ravens over his last 3 matchups. He's going to have a huge week this week.